Clú idirnáisiúnta an dealmhadóir Michael Warren ar rugach a gúta Loch Garman. Is minic scála almhór a buint le na chuid saothir, agus é doling le is an dam teiringt go healaíonta. Ní mór an áitin in éiring mór go leor chun cuid a héir a Spáint, a thug an Visual Arts Centre a Gairlach, cuirid a Michael Warren, cuid is a saothir is dramatólaige chomáile saothir nó a Spáint. Lawer ar dúris scóir sin airdaí bhainnig leis, fiad a Spáinta seo Unbroken Line, a bheith siúla Gairlach dín séolaidíag de bhíanair.
Tell me a little bit about Unbroken Line, your exhibition in visual.
Well, I was asked over a year and a half ago by the director here, Chris O'Farrell, to do a retrospective exhibition, and that would have been a very easy option. I could have just literally collected up pieces and filled up the space.
Which are all over the world.
Yeah, that might have been a problem. But you know, when I saw the spaces and so on, I just. It kind of laid down a gauntlet to me. I mean, I took up the challenge to kind of see if I could do something that would activate these particular spaces.
And tell me about this particular piece in this room, how it originated.
One evening I was closing the studio door for the nth time, and sounds but a ray of light came in and lit on some 5 little offcuts that were on my bandsaw. And I just said, God, that's it. And I took these 5 little elements. I made out in proportion, roughly, you know, this floor space. And then I I-chinged the little pieces up in the air and let them fall randomly. Now, I would have done it well over 200 times. But the final fall, which is this fall, is precisely to the millimetre replicated. See, habitually, sculptors really have to be very methodical and very pre-planned about their work. I myself, when I'm doing very big pieces, will meticulously work out every little thing and try and anticipate, because to make a mistake might cost tens of thousands of pounds or whatever. But in this instance, there's a kind of an instant, there's an allowance for the kind of epiphany. None of these pieces are pre-planned. I confront the full block, bark and all, and go in there. And the timber, I mean, a lot of it is response to the timber. Now it doesn't look very much, but everything is in fact quite calculated and arrived at. But I don't want myself as an artist in the thing, so that if you're reading of them as just initially big blocks of timber, that's fine by me, because I want you to feel the density and the weight factor that I hope you sort of feel from them.
Absolutely.
Is not totally dominant either, because there's undercuts and kickback from the bottom. So my vocabulary is very much one of ratios and relation, things like, you know, density, but always in paradox and finding balance and taking measure. It sounds terribly abstract and arid, but for me it's raw passion.
We're now in the main gallery of visual, and it's dramatically different.
This installation, made to look, you know, fairly easy and installed, does in fact comprise 15 tons of timber. And if you like, it's all to do with a counterpoise or a counterweight, a balancing of these 15 tons of tropical timber versus the space. Now, I can't play second fiddle to the space architecturally either. Hence, the line is not parallel with the end wall. So then, when this density and support and weight becomes activated in your imagination, at that point, suddenly, although this is just empty floor, I think it becomes every bit as alive over there as it is where the sculpture is, if you like.
These days I sit on cornerstones and count the time in quarter tones to 10.
I'm amazed you still have your first piece, Michael. Did you always know you wanted to be a sculptor?
No, I went to art school initially thinking I was going to do painting, but one visit to the sculpture studio, I mean, almost within a week, I knew that that's what I wanted to do. I actually just simply have to be making things. If I go too long without my making fix, I get depressed, and I actually even get physically unwell. Actually, in a very real way, I sometimes, when I'm putting on a big exhibition like this, I kind of feel a little bit guilty because I'm only sharing, an end product. So there's so much in the process of making. That's the real enthusiasm. In a kind of way, art critics should really kind of have a go. It doesn't matter how good or bad the work is, but I'd be a little bit worried about anyone talking to me too much about art that had never held a paintbrush or never sort of walked a chisel. But that's me.